All right, welcome everybody to our HOBO Data Loggers webinar. We'll just give it a second for a couple of people to join on. We just started the 11 o'clock hour here California time, so we'll just give everybody just 1 minute or so to jump on. So thanks for being here. All right, well, it's about a minute. So yeah, once again, welcome everybody to the HOBO Data Loggers webinar. So today we're going to be going over optimizing water resource management and irrigation practices using our data loggers. So we've got a lot of different data loggers that do a great job. So we're going to be talking about that today. Welcome. Appreciate you taking some time out of your day to be with us. So we are going to see here. Advance the slides here. Okay, so we are going to be going over about 45 minutes, or running about 45 minutes for the webinar. And then at the end, if you guys have questions at any time, you can go ahead and log that into the questions column. And at the end, we'd love to be able to get back to you. I'll have Andrew, who's the water resource sales manager, going to jump on, and he's going to help me out answering some questions. And then this webinar will be recorded. You can look at the last bullet point here. The webinar will be recorded and it'll be sent out to you probably within about 24 hours. So if you do have any questions or you wanted to follow up on that, it will be sent out to you. So yeah, we'll try and keep it right under an hour here and 45 minutes of me talking. Hopefully you can get through that. It might be hard here. So just a little bit really quickly about who we are and what we do. We are HOBO Data Loggers. Located in Cape Cod, Massachusetts. It's a wonderful place to be able to manufacture all those here in the US, here in Massachusetts. I am out here in California, but we have a great team that is a distributor of data loggers all over the world. We have our network and channels here, sales partners here in the US, and then we also have those around the world. It's great working for a company that's doing data logging since 1981. If you've been doing data loggers and monitoring since 1981, you're doing something right. So I think the company is definitely doing something right. We are ISO certified. That means we do have a rigorous testing of our products, and we make sure that when we get them sent out to you, they are going to be good. And one last thing that you can see on the bottom is we are now a Lycor brand. So that's really nice. It's something new and exciting for all of us. We're glad to be a part of the Lycor team. So just a little bit about myself. I know some of you that are on have probably met me before. Welcome. Good to have you here with us. And if you don't know me, my name is Brett Stebbins. I'm the presenter for today, and I am the Water Resource Management Sales Lead, kind of covering the West Coast. I'm out of Sacramento, California. And I've been doing this for about 20 years, working on the agricultural space and then the remote monitoring. So I've held a lot of jobs from grower to operations manager to sales, and then specializing in the remote monitoring space. And my focus now with HOBO is focusing on that same areas where I've been working, is on that agriculture and also the water resource management applications. And a lot of them, they'll have overlap. They go together. So that's just something quick about me. And then here's just a quick agenda of what we're going to be talking about. We are going to be going over our HOBO Link cloud-based software. Right, this is the way to keep you informed and so you can see our data on that HOBO Link software. We will be going over the RX real-time cellular stations. So not all the parameters, but mainly the water level, climate, and ag parameters. Then I'll touch a little bit on HOBONet wireless monitoring systems, our mesh network that we have that connects to the real-time cellular stations. I'll give you some deployment tips while we're talking about it, and I've got a couple of gems and some things that you might want to have takeaway from this if you're out actually doing the applications. And then as well, I do want to touch on the water quality and quantity for compliance, because water is a very precious resource. All of us are dealing with that, and more we need to start testing the water quality. And then after that, we'll get into some questions here. So we do have a poll question for you. We want to know who is here and what you're doing. So the poll question today, you can see it up on the screen, is how are you collecting water, climate, and soil data? So we've got 5 different answers, right? If you're out there doing manual measurements, if you're doing data loggers, real-time, not real-time, SCADA, or you're not doing any data collection. So go ahead and answer that question, and we'll pull up some of the poll results here. All right, we're seeing the numbers come in. No, it looks like a lot of you are doing real-time data, so that's great. All right, so the poll results are in. You probably should be able to see those. 21% manual measurements, 21% also using data loggers without real time, 48% real time. That's great. I like to see that. And then some no data collection, right? You may not have to collect data. Yeah, thank you so much for participating in the poll. We had almost everybody participate there, so that's great. So we have a lot of different ways to access the sensors, right? We have 3 different types we like to call of sensors. I'd like to start off on the left with the USB loggers. Those are loggers that you're going to have to eventually connect up into a computer, right? There's going to have to be an actual physical wire to go ahead and connect into the computer. You'll be able to pull off those manual measurements. It's great. We have fantastic loggers with this USB or optic sensors that we have out there. And they're ones that are very easy to deploy, smaller. You can discreetly install them where you need to, pull them out, retrieve them, and then pull off all that information. The next step up from that would be our Bluetooth data loggers, right? These are ones that are going to be wireless. There are no wires attached to those loggers. You're going to be able to pull all the data off, with your mobile devices. It makes it a lot better when you're out in the field. You don't have to take a laptop with you. You don't have to connect a dongle to it with all of our Bluetooth loggers. You're just able to pull those off using our free app that we have with the HOBO Connect. So that's the other set of data loggers that we have. It's the next step up from the kind of the manual offload. And then what we'll be talking about a lot today is going to be our web-based systems. So these are the ones that a lot of you are using, real-time data management. It comes through the cloud. The sensors are out there reading. They're pulled through our data loggers into the cloud, and then you're able to get on the internet and view all of those. So that's mainly what we're going to be talking about. But we did want to let you know that we do have those options. I'm going to go ahead and stop sharing my screen because you're probably tired of looking at me already, and we can start focusing on some of these slides that we have here. So the next one is just kind of a brief overview of where our data loggers are used, right? So we have these all over the city. We can do indoor, we can do outdoor, light occupancy, CO2, temperature, but the ones that we're going to focus on touching on are going to be those climate parameters, the temperature, humidity, water quality and water quantity, and some of the remote monitoring stations that we have out there. So we can kind of cover a lot of different areas with all of our different data loggers. So like I said in the beginning, we're going to talk a little bit first about that HOBO Link cloud software, right? This is the place where you are going to be able to optimize your water resources and your irrigations, being able to see the data, right? This is the platform where you get the real-time data and you get the customized dashboards, you get Google Map features. A lot of those things you're going to be able to pull up from your devices, pull up from your computer, and seeing those. And the way you see those and view those is through our HOBO Link cloud software. You're able to get alerts, being able to either get email or text messages if something's going on with the system or your sensors. This is also where you're going to be able to pull off all of the data via exports, because some of you need these for reporting or putting it into another system. We do integrate with other third-party software platforms because some of you are already using a program and you're pulling in data points from all over the place. So we want you to be able to pull that data and integrate into those systems that you're currently using. We do have a public URL option, which you're able to share dashboards with other people or with the public, right? With some of the water parameters that we have, you have to share publicly with a public website the data that you're using. So we have options to do that through our HOBO Link software. And you can also share access, and we'll get into that a little bit later. You can define user roles, so one person can have all of the resources to be able to monitor and change everything, and then you can just give users access to be able to just view certain things. So we have those options there in the HOBO Link Cloud software. I touched a little bit about real quick the different dashboards, and here you're able to customize your dashboards to fit what you want to see. Not everybody wants to see the data the same way. Some people like charts, some people like to see the raw data, some people like bar graphs or kind of what these gauges are. So there are a lot of different ways to read your data on your HOBO Link Cloud dashboard. So, and you're able to customize those. You're able to change colors and see how it looks. It's a nice setup that you can access that on this HOBO Link account. So it's just a couple of pictures on a couple of different options you have there. One of the really good options that we like is, and that a lot of customers take advantage of, is this HOBO Link map view. If you have just one system set out in the field, you probably are not going to optimize this HOBO Link map view. But if you are your grower and you're going to be putting multiple data points into the system, this is a really easy way to get a bird's eye view to be able to see, are your sensors connecting? Are they online? You can hover over them and get an instant reading on whether it's a temperature or a rain gauge or soil moisture, and you can kind of see the health of your system and see, especially once we get into a little bit over in a couple more slides to our HOBO Net system, where we have a mesh radio network. It's going to be able to kind of tell you where your devices are connecting. One of the other great features about the HOBO Link is the alarms. A lot of people really want to use these alarms. I'll touch a little bit about the alarms in some of the later slides about the practical ways that we use them. But here in the system, you're able to set up different parameters where you want alarms. If you want to have an alarm go off because the system is failing for some reason, if the battery's low, if the sensor's failing, if it's not connecting for some reason, it can send you an alert. If your sensor is detecting high or low thresholds, say you want to get into frost monitoring. So when your sensors read 34 degrees, 32 degrees, whatever you want to set it at, it will send you an alarm, and you can set those all up in the systems. It's unlimited. You can set up 50 people if you want to. This is really good if you're going to be using some of these our HOBO data loggers for operations, because you can have multiple different alerts go out to different people for different triggers and time events. So now I do want to get into our RX monitoring solutions. So these are our real-time data logger options that we have. One is the RX 2100. You can see right there, it's a small, compact, it's got a built-in solar panel. You can plug into 5 easy plug-and-play climate sensors with that, soil moisture sensors. You can include water level on it. And for just an example of the water level station, it's under $1,600 for a water level, and it's real time with all those alerts, with that the cloud system to be able to customize all your graphs. So we have that in a very small and compact RX 2100, and we have different variations of that. Then we get into our RX 3000. One of the main differences is this one is a lot bigger. It's a robust housing unit itself. You can have up to 10 plug-and-play sensors that can go into there. There's 2 modules for water level sensors, a lot of analog inputs, and we would use this data logger, especially if we needed to have some type of excitation for third-party sensors. So if we needed to give the sensor some power, which we need to on some of the powers, especially like some of the sonic sensors we have to give it a little bit of power in order to be able to read those. So when we do this, that's the model that we would use to do that. They both come with a multi-carrier SIM card installed in them. You don't have to install it or buy it yourself. It comes included. And this is fantastic because you can connect to AT&T if it's in the area, or you can connect to Verizon. The different cell towers, it doesn't matter what cell tower is there, it's going to connect up to the best one, which is really great because some of the other manufacturers only pick one and they go through it, and we carry the multi-carrier SIM, which is fantastic, and it works. So both of these have solar panels. The RX 2100 has it built in. The RX 3000, you have to attach it to it. They're able to connect up to all the same sensors. And it's very affordable with the cell plans. You can go as low as $199 a year. It's very easy to plug and play these sensors into them, and they are it's a robust unit. It is NEMA. It's a NEMA enclosure. It's waterproof. It's rugged. It's made to be out in the elements. So those are 2 of our real-time monitoring options that we have there. So when possible, this is the way to go when you can do and you can afford the real-time options. It just gives you so much continuous current live data. Then connecting up to those, right? We can use those previous data loggers as data loggers that are standalone units, and they connect to just what they're connected to wired into that system. But we can also utilize what we have. It's called the HOBO mesh network. So these are radio frequency data loggers that are going to be able to connect up to either the RX 2100 or the RX 3000, and you can create this mesh network. And you can connect up to 50 sensors. I think some of them we have a little bit more, but think about that. You have one data logger and you're paying 1 cell fee, and then you can connect to all of these mesh radio network data loggers for free, right? You don't pay any more with having to connect these. You pay for the data logger itself, but you don't have to pay the cell charge. They connect up to each other with a mesh network. They really attach to each other, and it's self-healing, right? If something changes and all of a sudden you plant this out somewhere and the tree grows big and it needs to connect to another sensor and then back, it finds its way back. And I think you saw some of those arrows in that map view that I showed a little earlier. It shows the arrows on where it's connecting. So when you get on your HOBO Link account, you are going to be able to see where these are sending their signal and how is it getting back to the base hub. And really, this HOBO mesh network really allows people to do 2 things, 2 very important things. One thing is it helps people to get it into places that have no cell signal, especially those of you who are in water management and we have to do some stream or river monitoring, and it's at the bottom of a gully and you don't have cell signal down exactly where that spot has signal. You can install one of these radio mesh network sensors to measure water level or temperature or whatever it is, and then you can put the base station 2,000, 3,000, 5,000 feet away. We just have to put a couple repeaters in there depending on the distance, but this really allows you to get into places that have no cell signal. So that's one advantage. The second advantage is it really keeps your price down on when you're buying data loggers and you're having to connect up to multiple sites. Say you're a farmer and you want to connect up to a ton of different devices and do a lot of monitoring within your field. This is a very cost-effective way to do it, and you're not paying all those individual cell fees for each data logger. So here's the actual unit itself, a little bit of a description about it. It's definitely low cost. It utilizes that 900 megahertz technology. You don't have to pay the sell fee for each individual unit. There are NEMA enclosures as well. These are rugged enclosures. You're able to connect 50 of these sensors up. If for some reason one of these sensors goes down, it doesn't find its way back to the main hub, it continues to onboard memory actually on the data logger itself. And it's got user replaceable batteries as well as our other data loggers. You can replace these batteries yourself. They usually are going to last 3 to 5 years because we do have that small solar panel on there on each moat. We like to call them moats. So each moat has that, but you're going to get 3 to 5 years on that battery, and then you can change it out yourself. You don't need to buy a whole new data logger because these data loggers are made to last. You don't need to buy another data logger. You can just replace those batteries and do it yourself. You don't have to send those back to us. And these are very, what we like to say, plug and play, even though we're not plugging these into those other data loggers, the RX 2100 and the RX 3000. You're easily able to turn this on and connect these and deploy these with those other main cellular hubs. Here is a couple of different sensors that we do have. So just so you get an idea of the variety of sensors that we can have attached to that our main data loggers via this mesh network. Just imagine, this is a dream. This can be a dream setup. If you're a grower or you're somebody who needs to optimize and use a lot of sensors, if you have a field and you're growing pistachios or almonds, you can connect to your well, you can connect to your flow meter, multiple soil moisture sensors, weather stations, frost monitoring, and all of that included is just going to be with one cell plan. You're going to have multiple installations out there, multiple points, and they're all going to mesh back to that main hub. So it makes it really easy to monitor and to daisy chain these out in the area. We have had our customers install these units and basically cover square miles of monitoring because they have these sensors, and one can ping off the other, and you can daisy chain those 5-6 times and be able to to really get some real coverage over the properties that you want to monitor. So I did mention in the beginning, we are a part of Lycor now. We are a division of Lycor. So we did want to just touch on Lycor. One of their sensors really fits in well with what we're doing and what we're talking about here today. And that is their 710 evapotranspiration sensors. I think some of you have heard of them. I actually know that some of you that are on the line have actually worked with these. And these are called, it's called the LI 710, and it's also called the Lycor water node. So what this does is this gets you actual ET. It's not an estimate, right? If you install a weather station, you can calculate and get ET, but it is still an estimate and a calculation. What this does is this is the only sensor that actually measures evapotranspiration. It uses the eddy covariance on how to measure. So what it does, just in a nutshell, we can get into this, and the Lycor folks can jump in later, or you can talk with them about this. But what it does is it measures the vertical wind. So it measures wind and air movement in that space. And then it also correlates it with the measurement of water vapor concentration. So it really is an actual measurement of evapotranspiration on your site. And just like us at HOBO Data Loggers, when you buy this, you buy the water node, it includes all this hardware. So it includes the hardware. You can see the 710, the sensor there. It comes with the data logger as well. And it also comes with that access to the cloud, to the software. So this is just another tool that I just had to talk about it because we're talking about optimizing irrigation and water resources. So we had to touch on that. It's a great product as well. So now I want to get into the actual application side of this webinar. And hopefully this is the part where it really kind of intrigues you. Data loggers always intrigue me. They're great. We have great products, great data loggers. But now we're going to be talking about the application side. And to me, flow monitoring is amazing. If I were a grower and I only had one parameter that I would monitor to be able to optimize my irrigation practices or my operation practices, it would be flow monitoring. And here's why. You can see, the point one is you can see the total water used per irrigation event. You can see that if you irrigate for, let's say, 8 hours, 10 hours, 2 hours, you can see how much water you used in that event. And it's really important that you do that, because some of you will have your crop consultants, and they are going to tell you to put out a certain amount of water to prevent diseases, to have successful optimization of your plants. So you're going to try and schedule irrigation events with the amount of water that you want to apply. So flow monitoring gives you that. One other thing that is, it gives you pump run time. So how long has your pump run? If you are running on peak electrical hours or not, it gives you so many data points. Some of you are able to connect up to your pumps automatically and run them through irrigation cycles, and you put that in on your database, and it goes ahead and runs with you or for you. But if you don't have that, the pump record time, runtime, is very important. If you're an operations guy and you have multiple ranches, this is a way to verify that your employees were running the pumps for exactly the time that you wanted them to run for. I could get into experience we've had with customers saying that systems don't work, and then come to find out just the pump wasn't on for the right time. We've got a lot of stories about that. You can message me individually or talk to me individually about that. But another thing that it really does is it gives you pretty much your filter performance, right? A lot of people who are in ag, we are connecting to filters because there's either sand or dirt, or we're pulling water off of a canal, and we want to filter all that water before we put it out on our crops. And this is able to give you filter performance by indicating your back flush cycle and durations, right? The filters, every so often, when they get close and they're in a pressurized system, so when they have to go into a back flush mode, you get less water, and then you also will, so you'll be able to see that, you'll be able to see the variation of your flow. You'll go from, say, 1,000 gallons per minute down to 600 gallons per minute on the back flush. So you're able to monitor your filter's performance, how often they get clogged up, and you're able to really manage that with flow monitoring. It also gives you how many gallons per minute you're using, right? Because some of you are very calculated in what you do, and you have experiences where you have certain amount of emitters per vine or per tree. So when you really know your gallons per minute, you're really able to customize your irrigation cycle and really hone in on what exactly you really need to set out for your plants. Also, for those of us who are in California and other states where we have to do water reporting, this makes it a breeze to be able to do your reporting. You're able to go and pull that historical data off of our cloud-based system, put it into a file, and send it out. So flow monitoring, it does a lot. So whoever out there wants some flow monitoring, go ahead and contact me afterwards, or if you have a customer that's really interested in it, flow monitoring can do a lot for your operations. Groundwater. So the groundwater monitoring that we do is very important as well, right? We want to see, by monitoring the groundwater, how healthy your water supply is, right? This is something we can't see. We have a hard time seeing down and knowing where our water levels are. So HOBO data loggers has a great solution for that. We install our data logger. You can see a couple of these. Our data loggers, it goes right down the well, either a transducer or a sonic sensor, and we're able to give you the data that you need for what's the water level, right? How far down is that water that you're trying to pull out of? So this gives you a couple of really good data points. It's right, how deep is your water? What are the fluctuations like throughout the year? Because in the wintertime, before irrigation systems or cycles start, it's going to be at one depth. And then at the end of the season, it's going to be at another depth. So you're able to see that through our groundwater monitoring. One other thing that you're able to see is you're able to see what's your drawdown like, right? If you're doing real time, you're going to be able to see how much the water draws down when you turn on your pump. So this is another great factor to be able to know. You're able to know if your well is safe, if you have enough water, right? If your water is getting so low and you know where your pump is set at, you're able to indicate, okay, do I need to lengthen my well? Do I need to do any type of changes? And also for those of you who are big ag guys and you have some big pumps out there, you can see actually drawdown by people that are close to you. If somebody else, a neighbor down the way that's only 500 yards away, turns on his big turbine pump, is your pump affected? Is your aquifer affected? So groundwater monitoring, we're able to do that. You can see our dashboard here and a quick gauge in some of our installations. For soil moisture, we've got two options, right? We've got a Bluetooth option. If you're constantly going out to your field and you are already walking the field or driving the field, you might be able to get away with a Bluetooth option, right? To be able to go out there, stick those out. You have your cell phone out, your tablet out when you're driving around the field, and you can pull up that data. It's very affordable to be able to get soil moisture that way. And we're also able to get real time, right? We pride ourselves on being able to get that real time soil moisture sensor, whether it's a probe or it's an individual single point sensor. It takes the guessing game out of do you need to irrigate? We don't want to irrigate more than we have to. So if you have this sensor and you have some real-time data, some soil moisture, you're able to visualize that. And one thing that I like to do with my customers and with people I've worked with in the past is dig down, install that sensor, put it in, cover everything up. And then once you get your data and you can see that data point, right? It's going to give you a data point on how much water is available in your soil and what's the water content like in your soil. So if you go down, say a couple of feet away from where that sensor is, I recommend digging down to the same depth that maybe say 12 inches. Say you put a sensor in at 12 inches. Dig down 12 inches, pull out some of that dirt that's at 12 inches, and then you can see and feel what the soil looks like and feels like and how much water is available in that soil at 12 inches. And then you can match up what that looks like and what that feels like on your soil moisture. Maybe you need to irrigate more and you can get a better number. So that's one way that I really like to kind of correlate what the soil looks and feels like with the number that you see with your soil moisture. So we've got those two with soil moisture monitoring, and you're able to irrigate when you have to. It can save you some money on running pumps, and it can save you water as well. Another great option that we have that hooks in well with HOBO data loggers is our weather stations, right? You're able to get real-time weather data. You're able to get customized email or text alerts with different parameters. And when you install a weather station on site, you get very site-specific data, right? This is the data that you're able to use, and you're not using a CEMA station or the weather channel to kind of see if it rained, right? You're going to be able to actually see, did it rain on your location? And that's very important. You're also able to do a calculation of the evapotranspiration, get chill hours, and then the weather data is great for being able to get all of those different parameters that you need for your crop. But it also can really help you with your operations, right? Here in California, we have laws and regulations on how many breaks you need when it gets hot, right? And when it's over 100 degrees, you have to take a break every hour or so, or whatever the laws are. And this really helps you to be able to irrigate well and to be able to run your crews out in your facility good, as well as spraying operations. In agriculture, there's a lot of spraying and there's a lot of pruning and work that has to be done. If you're managing multiple sites, you can get on in the morning and see what the wind is like, if you need to do a spray or if you need to go out and do something out in the field. So the weather stations are great. It's great for optimizing irrigation, using your water resources. Do I need to water, or did I have a rain event? match those up with some soil moisture sensors, and then you're really cooking on being able to see what's going on in your field, and it can also help you with your operations. One thing that we do very well is, we talked about that, our data loggers, our real-time data loggers, and our HOBOnet systems, right? You can put a frost protection system out there. Not the system, we don't sell the wind machines or the irrigation, but many of you will have these systems and some type of a frost protection system in place. So HOBOnet and our HOBO data loggers are able to give you those real-time the data points when a frost event is going to occur. I've known many people and many growers over the years, and I actually did some of it myself. One example is farmers and people who are working out in the fields, they would wake up every hour, set an alarm every hour or every half hour, and wake up and check the weather. Okay, is it freezing? Is it not freezing? Or they would even drive out to the field and then be able to check and see how cold it was to know if they needed to turn on a wind machine or some type of a frost protection irrigation system. This one, install our system, go to sleep, we'll wake you up when you need to, right? You can set those thresholds in there, and then you're able to wake up. Just make sure if you are a really hard sleeper, you might want to sleep a little lighter because you're going to need to hear that email or that text event. But that's another way of how you can really use the frost protection just with temperature RH monitoring through the HOBO data logger system. We don't only do work in orchards and vineyards and the field and water. We also have data loggers that can fit in with cold storage or dairy farms or warehouses. We've got temperature sensors that can be put in a different sensors. So I did want to touch on that. If you do have an operation where you do need to have monitoring in other areas that maybe don't have to do with the growing part, go ahead and reach out. We'd like to be able to talk to you about the different options we have, especially for cold storage. We have a whole line of products that are able to help you out. If you're a vineyard manager, you also probably have a winemaker and you have some cellars, so you might want to do some monitoring there. Other solutions that we have using our real-time data loggers is the surface water management, right? Not all of you here connected to water resources are going to be dealing with groundwater applications. Some of you need to monitor lakes, rivers, streams, and we have you covered with that as well. You can see the two pictures here. These are RX 2100 with a water level sensor. So the water level on both of these is installed into a couple of lakes, and they're doing real-time data management. So you're able to see how much water you have. If you're here in California, I know if you have a reservoir and it's over a certain amount of water capacity, water holding capacity, you need to monitor that and you need to have it real time. So we have a real good solution for that as well. You can get on our software. You can put in the alerts if a water gets so high, or also if it gets too low, right? If you're going to be monitoring a lake like this and it gets down to a threshold that is critical, then you can get an alert come out, and you can have this for reporting as well. So one thing we did want to touch on is we're really proud at HOBO Data Loggers of this new Bluetooth option we have for water quality. We're able to, this is our first multi-parameter water quality data logger. It's fantastic. I've been able to use it and touch it myself. And we have two different options. We have these Bluetooth options. You're able to completely submerge these in the water, like you can see on that top one. And then the bottom one has two sensors over there. We'll get into a couple of the different applications here. But you're really able to either submerge these or pull the data above ground. These units can be combined with two different sensors. So like this one in the example you can see that's connected to at the bottom is our CTD sensor and our DO sensor. We've got a ton of memory on these, and there's 4 AA batteries, and you can change those out, and those are about a 1 to 2 year battery life. So I think some of you here have known that some of these water monitoring devices, especially these kind of sondes kind of like this, can be very expensive. But if you're monitoring CTD and DO for $2,700, you can do all of those water parameters, and it's only $2,300 if it's just a CT and a DO sensor. So it's a great product. We're very happy with it, and people are using it all over the place. So these are our two sensors that we have right now. We actually have three. One's a CT, one's a CTD, and the other one is the DO. We're also going to be continuing to come out with different parameters. So in 2025, we've got some more parameters coming up and some different sensors. So you can see that on the left-hand side, we have our CTD sensor, which is conductivity, specific conductivity, salinity, TDS, temperature, depth. All of those measurements can be calculated off of that one sensor. And since it is not only monitoring conductivity, it is also monitoring depth. We've got the different depth ranges, right, from 13 feet all the way to 250 feet. When you do order these, you want to make sure that you are ordering the right depth, because you want to be able to have those specific to the site. You don't want to throw a 250-foot sensor if you're only monitoring 20 feet of water. And there's a quick calibration. We've got our HOBO Connect app. It's really easy to connect and do all the calibrations through the app. So we do that, and it's fantastic. On the DO sensor, it is the RDO optical technology that we have. And this cap is a 2-year sensor cap. Unlike some of our USB loggers that have a 6-month life, this is a 2-year sensor cap. So there's a lot of savings as well right here when you're switching to doing that. And we've got different housings that you can put around these sensors. And here's just a couple of different options that we have for you. So we've got, the one option, the one is the submersible one. You deploy those, stick those down the water, wherever they are, in a well or an ocean, wherever they are, and you can pull those up, and then you'll be able to pull all the data off via Bluetooth once that data logger comes out of the water. And the direct read option is a cabled version. So that Bluetooth data logger's got barometric pressure included in there, and then you're able to cable down and put those sensors down at the different depths that you would like. And the very last one on here is going to be our monitoring depths. You can do multiple different depths. You can do the sensor, the data logger itself, go down, customize cable lengths down to a certain depth where you're doing CT, and maybe down all the way at the bottom where you're doing CTD. So it comes with a lot of different configuration options for these as well. So if you do need to step into the water quality monitoring space, yeah, please reach out. We'd love to be able to talk to you about deployment options and the options we have for you. I did want to quickly touch on some tips for deployment, right? I've had the opportunity to be able to get out and install many different data loggers in many different areas. And here's just a couple of tips. You may say these are very obvious, but I'm telling you what, these are overlooked all the time. So number one, make sure that you make a site visit before you go by and get as many pictures and details as you can, please. If you're talking to us or you're talking to anybody, get all the details you can. Pictures up close, pictures out far, do measurements, because the second point is correct cable lengths. It's horrible when you have a ton of extra cable, and it's even worse when you don't have enough cable lengths for some of these sensors and applications. So please measure before you buy, know how much you want. And also just a tip, don't pre-configure and don't set all these up out in the field. Do that in your office when you have some extra time. Set everything up, pre-configure, get your site logged on before you go out to the site. So when you get out to the site, it's just a plug and play. Please do those. And then when you're in your office, if you need to call us, call myself up, call Andrew up, who's going to help with some of the Q&A here. Call us up, let us help you be able to pre-configure those. And then as well, if you have a solar panel, just know where to angle your solar panels. I've come across a lot of people that have put their solar panels facing in directions where they're not going to be optimizing any sun rays at all. So know the angles where you need to go. So those are just a few deployment tips that we had for you. We're getting down towards the end. That's all that I have on my side. Once again, I really appreciate everybody being here. It was an honor and an opportunity to be able to share this with you. And now I'm going to have Andrew go ahead and jump on. He's going to help with some of the questions and some Q&A that we have.
Thank you, Brett. And can you hear me all right, Brett?
Yes, sir, I can.
Perfect. Great job. A lot of good information on the application side. It's good to get some, of your experience and your hands-on experience in the field. It was right on the dot, actually, 45 minutes. So we definitely have some time for questions, and we had some coming in during the presentation. I do want to bring up one. Someone asked for the flow monitoring. Is that monitoring via ultrasonic flow meters, or how does that work? So there's a number of different options, and Brett and I can both chime in on this, but there's a number of different flow meters on the market, whether it's ultrasonic or paddle wheel style. We pretty much can take in an input from these flow meters, whether it's an analog input like a 4 to 20 milliamp. We can take in a voltage input or even pulse. In most cases, from what I see, customers are looking at a pulse input, and the reason for that is because it gives you totalization, so that you can know exactly how much water you've pumped. If you're looking at an analog input, that's more for snapshot in time. So it's going to tell you when the flow meter is actually pumping, but not necessarily how much it pumped, which it can still give you a good idea, but pulse is usually the go-to when it comes to meter monitoring.
Just one thing I'd like to add on there, Andrew.
Yeah,
Can I add one thing?
Yep.
So on some of the paddle wheel, he talked about as well. And some people think that they need to completely change out if you don't have a digital flow meter. And there are different digital converters that you can have and connect up to those paddle wheels. So if that's something that you're interested in or you're looking at doing, just reach out, contact us. We'll be a resource for you to help you through that.
Yeah, great point, Brett. Let me keep going through here. Allow data from input. Does the HOBO platform or mesh allow for data input from our existing sensors, or will we have to switch over to HOBO ecosystem? It depends on the systems that you have or the sensors that you have. Onset has a wide variety of plug-and-play style sensors that we carry on our end. It makes it very easy to kind of, attach to our systems, and the data is already coming in. It's all scaled and ready for you. If you have third-party sensors, there's definitely a possibility of that. It just comes down to what the sensor is, what it requires, what kind of output and power. But it's definitely an option, and that's one of those things that Brett's information's right here. We'll be following up after as well, but feel free to reach out to Brett and myself. We've hooked in a lot of third-party sensors into these stations. And then, all right, so I have soil. Let me read it first, actually. I have soil, water, more. Then digging it. So another question here, maybe more for you, Brett, is if you can answer it, and if not, we can help try to find an answer. It says, I have soil, water, moisture sensors, but I'm having a hard time understanding when to irrigate based on those numbers. Anything other than digging down and feeling the soil myself?
Yeah, you don't necessarily have to dig down, but you kind of got to know what the sensor is doing. So I take that back. I think you do have to kind of dig down to be able to get an idea of what those are. And I like to do those at all the way at the installation. But you can always look at trends through the soil moisture data points. And if you'd like to, it's hard for me to do it right now, not looking at a graph. But if you'd like me to get on with you and look at a graph and some of your charts, we can usually look and see some trend lines, and I'll be able to look at those and see. So yeah, please reach out on that.
Yeah, I'll say this too.
Trend lines.
Yeah, and Onset works with a number of different customers, right? On the research side, state and Fed agency as well. I mean, there's a lot of research being done with our soil moisture sensors. There's also local extension services, and so we have a lot of good connections on that end. So again, like Brett said, reach out to Brett, and maybe we connect you with someone that could be a good resource, or we might have some information on our end. Let me keep going here. So the good question here: is there any possibility to use the available on station Wi-Fi? So Onset used to have a Wi-Fi station. We've kind of consolidated our solutions down to just a cellular only. So we do not currently have a Wi-Fi solution. Cellular, we do have those great cellular plans, and it comes with the SIM card already installed. 9 times out of 10, if you have service, I understand. If you don't and you need Wi-Fi, but if you have cell service, it is a great option. It's a more reliable option. Wi-Fi can go down. When power goes down, Wi-Fi can go down. When you're running cellular, it's a lot more reliable to kind of be pushing that data. So we don't have a Wi-Fi, or we used to have a Wi-Fi solution, but we're sticking with cellular at this point. If we have existing multiple sites, can we use HOBO Link to be the data platform only, receiving CSV files and helping to visualize our irrigation data and field conditions? So if you're utilizing HOBO data loggers, you can absolutely utilize HOBO Link to view your data and visualize it. If you're using outside sites that are not tying to our data loggers, and you have a data logger, it's already pushing to a different platform that you're using, that is not something that we can bring in to the HOBO Link cloud-based software. Not to say that that's not something that we do in the future. For right now, though, that is not an option. So it's really only HOBO data loggers that can push data to HOBO Link and display that data. Brett talked a lot about, the integration capabilities, and that you can take our data and push it in other places. You can use our API to dump it into a different software platform, or maybe the platform that you're currently on can utilize our information or our data information as well. What is the simplest solution you have seen for flow monitoring in a remote open channel system? I assume when you're saying open, so you're open channel flow. So we're not talking floaters here. I'll hopefully this answers the question, but so our RX station, one of the ones that Brett touched on in the very beginning, we have a flow calculation that is built into our software. Ultimately we use pressure transducers to give you water level data, but in some cases you can get a flow reading from that stage data. And so our software has a couple different options. If you have a flume, or if you have a wear, or if you've developed a stage discharge table from a rating curve, you can enter some of those points into our software, and it will turn that water level data into flow or give meaning to it. It doesn't necessarily mean you're doing open channel flow, which I know of some sensors on the market that provide that. They're pretty expensive. If you can get away with using a pressure transducer and having a wear, having a flume, or being able to develop a stage discharge table from that channel, this is definitely a great option, and it will be able to display essentially a real-time flow reading in CFS right through our dashboard. We'll keep going. Anything else to add on that, Brett, or that kind of covered that?
I think you touched on it well. Yeah, because it's just, what is the percentage of accuracy that you're going to be okay with, right? Because if you don't have a weir, or it's not measured exactly, then you're gonna the flow is gonna be a calculation. So, but the accuracy is I guess that's just my question for you: is what accuracy percentage are you
Yeah,
okay?
as far as accuracy goes, I'll say this: you can enter up to 20 points for the stage discharge table. So when you're doing a stage discharge table, you can add up to 20. So that's kind of gonna, it's gonna scale, I believe, in a linear fashion between them. But the larger the table, I'd assume the more accurate. But usually 20 is enough, and from what I've heard, it does a pretty good job. in most cases. Here's one that I might tag you in on is the HOBO soil moisture probe. Does it provide soil moisture in percent soil water storage or as a percent of field capacity? Most growers have a hard time using the soil moisture in terms of percent of field capacity. Great question.
On that one, I'm not as familiar with our probe. I think it's just the volumetric water content that
Yes,
it's
yeah.
providing for you. Yeah.
Okay, and we can we'll address that with a better response following the webinar, or when we kind of follow up. We have your questions here and we can follow up on them. Let's see. We'll keep going. We still got actually we hit the 10-minute mark. If you guys want to stay on, we'll go to the top of the hour and keep going down some of these questions. A lot of good questions. So, are soil moisture Bluetooth loggers, the MX2300, able to be linked to cloud, dashboard, or mesh network, and how to go about that? So the MX2300s, they are Bluetooth, and they can utilize a Bluetooth gateway, which can be Wi-Fi or Ethernet. That is good typically for indoor applications, and Bluetooth is typically good for indoor applications just because of distances. When you're talking to field and the distances that you require between monitoring points, you're usually looking for a HOBONet solution. So with the MX2300, those cannot tie into a HOBONet mesh network, but I will say this: the same options that we have for soil moisture with the Bluetooth, we have as a HOBONet solution. So we have those Teros, I think 11 and 12 sensors, one for soil moisture and temperature, one for soil moisture, temperature, and EC. We have those options that can tie right into that mesh network. So we have a solution. Bluetooth can't tie into it. If I didn't say this already, with that gateway, the Bluetooth in the gateway, it does push to that same cloud, but it's just a separate option. All right. Is there a remote analog sensor that a device can be hooked into to monitor remote site requiring an analog hookup? Great question, great timing. We are hoping to release by the end of this year. That's a running timeline at the moment, but we're hoping to release at the end of this year a HOBONet wireless analog mode. So this is a wireless moat, just like you kind of saw all of those different options. This would be able to take in analog signals and also provide excitation power, just as our station, our RX3000 would do. So that is, be on the lookout for that, because that is definitely the plan to release that unit, and it should be another great addition to that line. Can we revisit the slide with water quality probe and what sort of calibration related maintenance is expected? Yeah, go back to this one right here. The next one, if you don't mind, Brett. So the MX800, right now we have a CT sensor, which is conductivity and temperature. We have a CTD sensor, conductivity, temperature, and depth, and then dissolved oxygen. The CTD sensor, you're going to typically do a calibration process in the beginning of your deployment, of each deployment. That's done right through the app. So we have, you'll buy a calibration solution, or you have your own calibration solution. You'll drop it in your beaker with that solution in it. The app pulls it up. It'll tell you, if it passes or what it's reading, calibrates it right there. You're on your way. It takes, probably 30 seconds from that process. And you do that, before your deployments or every time you offload and clean your sensor. The dissolved oxygen logger or sensor has a 2-year sensor cap. You calibrate that in the very beginning of your deployment, or the very beginning of initializing that sensor, and then you don't have to technically calibrate that sensor again for your 2-year life. So when it comes to maintenance and cleaning these off, that's really site dependent, right? If you're in an estuary in the summer months, you're going to have to go out there pretty frequently. And when I say frequently, weeks, a week or two, you might have to go out there and clean these sensors off. And that's the case with anything. But, colder times, fast flowing water, stream, not much fouling, you can get away with months at a time leaving these out there. And it's the same thing with the CTD sensor. So the calibration process with the DO sensor is pretty much the same. There's a boot and sponge to do that 100% saturation, and you run it right through your app. Takes about 30 seconds and you're on your way. We also allow for you to do pre and post calibration readings. And what that is if you have some sort of meter, for example, that you want to calibrate, not necessarily calibrate with, but if you want to take a reading in the beginning and take a reading at the end, what you can do is you can drop that in on the post deployment side through the app or through the software, and it will pretty much correct in a linear fashion. So as as the data drifted over time, it will correct for that in a linear fashion and kind of adjust your deployment. I do want to be conscious of everyone's time here, so we are at the top of the hour. A lot of good questions still coming in. We will definitely get back to you and answer some of those questions. Hopefully, you took down Brett's information. Either Brett or I or someone from our sales team will follow up with you if you have questions. Don't ever hesitate to reach out. Thanks again, Brett. A lot of good information on the application side. Very well done. Brett didn't say this, but his first webinar, I think he did a great job, and we appreciate you guys jumping on here and tuning in. So have a great day, everyone.
Thank you, everybody, for joining. Appreciate it. Thanks, Andrew.